So the story begins with the Baudelaire children. That's Violet, Klaus, and baby Sunny receiving some awful news. So there are these three kids, quite young. One of them is a complete baby, Sunny is. And they get some terrible, awful news.
Yeah, let's see what it is. It says, Mr. Poe, a family friend, tells them their parents have died in a fire. That is terrible, terrible news.
That's really,
I can't
really
imagine
sad.
Losing my parents, all of a sudden like that.
Yeah, so Mr. Poe, we know he's a family friend, maybe their parents' friend, and he also seems to have some kind of job involving the law or money or something, because the article says Mr. Poe will look after the family fortune until Violet turns 18 or becomes 18. She is 18 years old. So there we saw the phrasal verb look after. To look after something means to take care of something or someone and make sure nothing bad happens. Here, Mr. Poe is looking after money, so he just needs to make sure the money isn't spent or that it's being saved in a safe place, doesn't just disappear. And we know it's money because we're talking about fortune.
That's right. Fortune is our vocabulary word, and it's spelled F-O-R-T-U-N-E. Fortune, it is a noun and it means a large amount of money. So for example, if you go buy a lottery ticket and you win, that means you win a fortune. You win a lot of money. So we see here in the article that these children, they have a family fortune. So basically, it's the amount of money their family has, and usually it's going to be passed on from one generation to another one. Okay? For example, we can use it in a sentence like this. The man made a fortune by creating the first flying car.
Okay, so the kids have got some money, which is something. They're not going to be like poor orphans living on the street, but they can't get that money until Violet, the oldest one, is 18. Legal reasons for that. So the article says, until then, until she's 18, the children must stay with their distant relative, Count Olaf. A relative is a noun. It's spelled R-E-L-A-T-I-V-E, relative. And a relative is someone who is in your family, connected either by blood or by marriage. The connection doesn't have to be a strong one. It could be like your aunt's cousin's wife or something like that, a long way away. They're all relatives. A distant relative means it's one a long way away, not like a brother, sister, mother, aunt, so on.
Yeah.
Here's an example. Michael's relatives all sent him cards or gifts on his birthday.
Oh, that's so nice of him.
Yeah, we also saw Olaf is a count.
Oh, yes.
Okay, now you guys might not know what a count is. It's someone who owns land and is a noble. Okay, so he's got some kind of title, he owns an area. Now, in the UK, we don't actually have any counts. We have earls, it's the same thing. Counts are found in Europe, in France, Italy, Germany.
It sounds like sounds like an evil sounding name too.
Count Olaf. Yeah, that's obviously a bad guy, right?
Like Count Dracula was kind of like a scary guy. So Count Olaf to me doesn't sound like a very friendly person.
Yeah, he's not a friendly, happy uncle.
He sounds like bad news.
Right.
Okay, let's see. It says the Baudelaires don't know Count Olaf. And they don't like the look of him either, all right? So when they first met him, when they saw him, they're like, they don't really like the look of him. So when you don't like the look of something or somebody, this phrase just means that you don't like this person or thing because from your first impression, it doesn't make you feel very comfortable. So yeah, why don't the children like Count Olaf? What does he look like?
Well, our description in the article says he's tall, thin, and smelly.
Ew.
Yeah, smelly means he doesn't smell very good, okay? Another example could be, I don't want to have to empty the smelly garbage can.
Yuck.
So he's kind of this tall, thin, smelly old guy.
No wonder they don't like the look of him.
Exactly.
I wouldn't like him either. Based on his name, too. It sounds very evil. All right, so let's continue reading this story. It says, they learn that Count Olaf works as a theater actor in the city and also manages his own theater group, okay? So he sounds like a pretty, I would say, normal person. He acts in the play. He acts in plays. And
Actors aren't normal. Take it from me.
he sounds normal, but we can later learn that his personality is not so good as well. All right, so first let's take a look at another vocabulary word. We see the word manage. It's spelled M-A-N-A-G-E. Manage. Now, this is a verb that means you kind of look over something, you control something like maybe a business, maybe we call it a department in a company, or maybe even like a sports team. So you kind of look after the people, you're like the leader, and you make sure that people work together and get their job done. So for example, we can say, Jim manages everyone in the company.
Okay, so the kids don't like the look of him. However, as the article says, however, they have no choice but to move into his house. Now, this is a slightly unusual phrase, have no choice but to, and then followed by a verb. And we use this phrase in a situation where someone only has one choice. They can't do anything else. Here's an example. Since I missed the last MRT home, I have no choice but to get a taxi. That's the only thing I can do unless I'm going to walk home, basically.
Right, or ride a bike.
Yeah, or sit there and wait until the MRT opens. So it's kind of saying there's only one thing they can do, and the kids, their one thing is go with Count Olaf.
Right, and remember, they're all young children, so they have to be with an adult. So this is probably the law that they have to follow. All right, let's continue reading the story. It says, his house, okay, we're describing the house here. It's old, dirty, and full of odd images of eyes. Okay, so his house is quite strange. It's not something that they're very used to. Because I'm pretty sure they had a very loving and warm house, and all of a sudden they have to live with this weird relative that they've probably never even met. He had a lot of odd images of eyes, okay? Let's take a look at another vocabulary word, the word odd. O-D-D, odd. It's an adjective and it just means something that is strange, weird. It's really unusual, okay? So we can say there was something odd about his story. His story doesn't make sense. It was very strange. Or we can even say, that's odd. He was here a minute ago. Where did he go? Okay, we can even use it in another example sentence like this. There is something odd about that house. Many people think there are ghosts. I'm not going there. All right, so let's learn more about his house. I think the images of these eyes are really, really strange.
Yeah, it means kind of these pictures on all the walls and stuff. We also see that Olaf also has a tower that the children are forbidden from entering. Okay, let's take a look at that word tower. It's a noun and it's spelled T-O-W-E-R. Tower. And a tower is a very tall building, but one that usually doesn't have a lot of rooms on each floor. It's not wide, it's kind of tall and straight. Now, some towers, such as Taipei 101, they are both. It's very big and it's very tall, but it's always taller than it is wide. Now, in the old days, they were the tallest parts of castles, sometimes the only bit of the castle, and they were also the strongest part of the castle. So if the walls if they fell down, everyone would run inside the tower and stay there, and that's where all the rooms and stuff were. Here's an example of how we can use the word tower. The wizard lived in a high tower in the middle of the forest. So Count Olaf has this strange tower and he forbids the children to go inside it. What does that mean?
All right, forbid is to mean that you're not allowed to do something or to go somewhere. Okay, so for example, maybe this restaurant, you're forbidden from smoking in this restaurant. It means you're not allowed to do it. Oftentimes, smoking is forbidden on the plane. Okay, or if you've read Harry Potter, I remember in one story, Dumbledore told the students that it is forbidden forbidden to enter the third floor. So it's the same thing. They couldn't go to this place.
That's right. Now, forbid, the past tense is can be forbade, I think, forbid. But I've also seen it forbade, so it's got a few forms. And then forbidden is the PP.
That's
and
right.
we often use forbidden as an adjective. Something is forbidden means you can't do that. So you can forbid someone, or we can also just say something is forbidden. Okay, now the article goes on and it says Count Olaf turns out to be a bad egg. Got some fun phrases here. The first one's a bit easier, turn out. We use the phrasal verb turn out to show how something ends or to say how something really is, even though we thought it might be different at first. Now in this case, it's not much of a surprise that Count Olaf is not that nice because he looks nasty, and it turns out, as we'll see, that he is nasty. Here's another example for turn out. I thought the exam would be easy, but it turned out to be really difficult.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was harder than I had expected.
Alright, so it says that it turns out Count Olaf was a bad egg. What does that mean? Does it mean he smells or...
He's round? He
He's
came from
round?
a chicken?
He's not a round egg? I don't know. Well, maybe we can find out by taking a look at our shortcut for you. So let's take a quick break.